All right, welcome everyone. It's now 6:30 on Monday, April 25th. The board started at 5:45, went into executive session and is now returning to open session. We will be meeting with the finance committee, but they're working on something themselves right now, getting ready. So Liz, is there something that we could do while we're waiting?
Sure. Let me see here. Bree, do you want to do the warrants paid?
Sure. The warrants paid for the past 2 weeks total $14,402.41.
Thank you, Bree.
Eversource, and just the kind of main things as always.
Okay, the usual.
Great.
Yeah.
Did you want to do the minutes now?
Sure. Mark and John, did you get a chance to read the open session minutes from 4:11 and 4:13?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, did you have any recommended changes or were you good to go?
I'm good.
I was good too.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the open session minutes from 4:11 and 4:13 as written.
Second.
Second.
Oh, I'm
All
sorry.
right. Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes. Okay, so minutes done.
As far as my updates, we've just been plugging along with everything for town meeting. We did set up a walkthrough at Dennett on the morning of May 9th, and that's with the moderator. And we basically just look at the setup for the 2 rooms that town meeting will be held in and make sure that we're all set for that. So we have everyone on board for that. And we're planning at your next regular meeting on May 9th to go through all the funding sources and all of the motions for town meeting. So that's where we're at as far as updates. I don't have anything in particular in correspondence either. Alan Wheelock had submitted something expressing interest in seeing more hours allocated for the zoning enforcement officer, and we are accomplishing that in the fiscal 23 budget. So
Great.
nothing more to report.
Didn't we have a letter from Norrie's lawyers?
I don't.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
forwarded off to council. There was a question on Old Brook Street, I believe,
Yes.
Okay.
about ownership. And I believe the ball is in the planning board's court, that they need to
Okay.
get in touch with
Great.
council. All right, looks like Finance Committee is joining us. Welcome.
Did everyone want to go through the budget first, or did you want to go through the articles first, like ATM and then STM?
I'd kind
Nate,
of prefer
what
the
would you
budget.
prefer? I don't care. I'm good with either.
Okay.
What does Finance Committee want? What would you prefer? Nate's muted. There we go.
Yeah.
We would prefer this all to be over with and we can go get a drink. That's what we would prefer.
Okay, so how about
Let's
if we start
vote.
with the budget? I like your honesty. All right, Liz, do you want to, are you going to share your screen? Or no, Nate is, okay.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. I think most of these line items will be the same as to what we discussed at our meeting, our joint meeting a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you want to just take this section by section. FinCom just voted. This is the numbers in green are what was voted, recommended by the FinCom. So if you want to take it for the selectmen as a section by section, or we can look at the, hold on, I'm sorry.
Nate, what if you were to go section by section, and then if any of the selectmen have a question, they could just speak
Sure.
up and say hold.
They can put a hold. Gotcha. Will somebody do me a favor and text Mike Lemieux the meeting link, please, so he can join us as well?
I can do that.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, so first section, insurance and pension. The approval was, the requested amount was $1,384,897, and we have approved $1,369,897. The difference being on the group health line. We reduced it slightly based on year-to-date expenditures on that line. Next section is general government. Amount requested was $114,958. We approved all but $1,000, and it escapes me where that came from.
I think it was a simple,
conservation
yeah, it was
agent.
a math issue, I think, when
Yeah,
they calculated his increase.
Yep, that's correct. Yes, thank you. Yep. Next, the assessors was approved for the full amount requested at $87,811. The next section is town clerk. The amount, total amount requested was $115,957. Amount approved was $114,039. The two differences here, there's a difference in the town clerk salary that was approved. If you recall, we had a discussion about the clerk was requesting a longevity bonus that we could not support. We couldn't find any sort of precedent for that, and we didn't feel comfortable setting a precedent for that. And then the other reduction is the expense line was reduced by the amount of their copy machine lease that is being hopefully approved at the special town meeting article. Next section, accountants, tax collector and treasurer. Again, there's a $1,000 difference. And
Expenses?
That expenses, yes.
It was for the accountant's expenses.
Selectmen, those troublemakers, we approved everything they wanted because we want to stay on your good side. Total amount there is $348,781.
I think they're overpaid. We could keep that $3.
Well, we never see it anyway.
I was
So
gonna say, if you look at the actuals, Steve, they actually never do cash the check. So I guess we're good there.
There is the step increase, though, that
Next is the Board of Health. The amount requested was $49,515. The amount approved was $42,405. A couple of differences here. One on the expense line. Again, they had several items in there that they had included some legal fees, for example, that were being paid out of the town legal line. There's also their copier machine, which again, we can back out because of the special town meeting article. And so there were a couple of things like that that were removed from the expense line. And then for the support staff, Board of Health had requested a fairly substantial increase for the administrative assistant for that department. FinCom felt that it was again out of character for what has been done in the past in other departments. Most recently, I think we had an issue a couple of years ago where the building department administrative assistant was submitted for a larger than typical increase, and we discussed it at that point that we felt it was we didn't want to set a precedent, so we pushed back on the Board of Health and recommended that they kind of keep with the standard for the other departments in town, which is up to a 2% merit increase over the cost of living. So in this case, this year's cost of living, as you know, is 3%. So we did put in the administrative assistant for a 5% increase. And so that's the reason for the change in that line. Public Works. What do I have for a note here? Excuse me. Public Works, the request was for 683,759. We reduced it to 674,716. We removed some expenses from their line item that we felt were captured in other areas. The phone expense, they had an equipment repair expense, which we felt was captured under line 315. And $3,500 tool line we felt also was captured under line 315. With respect to the administrative assistant and also for the labor line, and this will come up again for the transfer station line, they had submitted a series of increases to bring everybody up to a 5.9% salary increase, and we reduced it back to 5%, similar to what we just talked about with the Board of Health. I understand the reason they put it in for 5.9, but we, again, in wanting to be consistent across all departments, we reduced it to the 5%. Animal inspector personal property line is approved as the full amount that was requested, 29,922. Building department was approved for the full amount requested. Fire departments request was for 865,750. We reduced it to 824. As previously discussed, we created a new line for fire vehicle maintenance. The chief had expressed some concerns about the ability to maintain the fleet, so we understood that and trying to accommodate that here rather than go the article route that was originally proposed. The other big change is in the salary line. We proposed a 10% increase over current budget year of $572,000. When we looked at minimum staffing that is needed to keep the doors open, we factored in a 15% allowance for callbacks and such. That was based on the actual data that we had. And then that leaves approximately 19 or 20% also in the budget for such things as training and overtime and things like that. So we were pretty comfortable with our number of 572.
I'm concerned about that, Nate, because the town administrator, as you know, had gone through and sat with the chief, and I was a little bit a part of it, but it looked like it was going to be nearer, I believe, 610.
Yeah, but that was also including the extra administrative hours that we feel are not necessarily deployed correctly.
I guess we need a discussion, but I understand why you've got it in your budget.
Police Department. Total request was 1,293,847. Total approved was 1,219,448. The reduction was the $75,000 in the salary line. As previously discussed, the FinCom voted to approve an extra position last year based on the budget that was submitted by Chief Clancy, who assured us at that time that it would solve the staffing issues and staffing concerns and enable the town to be able to staff all shifts with at least 2 officers on duty. So we approved that last year, and we continue to support that staffing position. So we budgeted the salary line for the 3% increase that is in their contract for this year.
I think I'm not sure why Matt Clancy said what he said, but right now we had 63 shifts in March that were single shifts. Part of it's due to sickness, part of it's due to court appearances maybe, but we are still down an officer for sure. And this is going to become more of an issue as we bring on female candidates, how we work with them. So I feel very uncomfortable with that, even though I understand where you're coming from.
And FinCom, appreciated the feedback of the Board of Selectmen as well. But again, we had pretty extensive discussions with Chief Clancy a couple of years ago about the staffing level. I think we also, as a committee, discussed that there seems to be recurring issues that come out of this line in terms of early retirements and such, and paying off accrued sick time and that sort of thing. And we didn't necessarily feel that that was appropriate to come out of this line. So we kind of feel this line is a little bit muddied, if you will. So our goal with approving the 850 and change was to hopefully establish a new cleaner salary line. And then going forward, if there is a retirement that needs to be addressed, or some sort of a long-term leave that requires a special action in terms of salary payout, that it would be addressed via maybe a special town meeting article, the way we handle it for other departments, rather than have it just paid out of line 555. We think that that has led to some sort of confusion in the past. But I see that the accountant wants to weigh in, so well, it's not my meeting, so.
Yes, if you, may I speak?
Sure.
Not my meeting.
Okay,
Absolutely, Lisa.
thank you. I just had a question. I understand what John's saying, and that sounds like a lot of shifts that were single shifts in March. However, don't they still have a position that's not filled? That's been budgeted for, but they just haven't been able to hire for yet?
My
Because that's how-
understanding is yes, but even with that, and I think maybe since Nate has suggested, a special town meeting might be the place appropriately take it on, is we give the new chief a chance to break this down so that everybody understands how the shifts are staffed in some detail. So we're talking from the same hymnal.
Emergency dispatch, we reluctantly budgeted that for $200,000. Veterans line was budgeted for the full amount requested of $55,207. Library was budgeted for their full amount requested of $163,965. School department again was budgeted for the local schools at the full amount requested, and the regional schools as well for a total school budget of $6,349,000. And the rest is all just kind of stuff. So that brings us to a grand total of recommended budget amount of $12,267,390.
Nate, either you or Liz, there was no wiggle room on the rock. We needed to fully fund that.
We did, unfortunately. They
Okay.
were kind of far along in their process with their town meeting. They did leave it open-ended if we wanted to pay $175 up front, then the remaining $25,000 towards the end of next fiscal year. You know, it's really not a difference in the amount that we'd be paying, but if we wanted to space it out in that manner, they were fine with that. Ultimately, well, the numbers provided didn't make a whole lot of sense. They are moving to a model where they just want to have a baseline cost for services based upon the population in the various communities. And the smallest fee that they're looking to establish is that $200,000 number. I think we could have alleviated a lot of the back and forth if they had just been upfront about that right from the beginning. If they just said, we're sorry, but this is the cost of doing business with us. This is the cost for our services, take it or leave it. But it sent us on a bit of a fact-finding mission as far as tracking down why their call volumes for us were so far out of whack. What we determined with that, the Chief Silva did a huge amount of research and really dove into the numbers. And what was discovered ultimately is that we're having items counted as actual calls that do not involve an action of the dispatcher. But that said, there is a cost for the services, and I understand where they're coming from the standpoint, whether we're busy or not, we are paying for a service to have somebody sitting there 24/7, 365 to answer the call if it comes in. But I think we could have avoided some of the back and forth if they had just said, nope, we have a new model now. We have this new state-of-the-art facility, and this is the minimum cost for being a member community. So we did let them know that we would prefer to just sign a one-year agreement and maybe revisit everything for the following fiscal year so that we're not locked in. That said, they were amenable to continuing to look for potential grant funding for us. And if we are eligible for anything like that, it will come off our total. So whether they refund us or however that works, but they are going to look for more in the way of grants.
Thank you.
Nate, could you go back up to the top? You were off and running before I got to look at a couple of the numbers. In particular, did we fund the Conservation Commission at their requested level?
We did.
Okay, good.
They
Thank
got
you.
the increase in hours. They had a math error on the percentage increase, like merit raise for the employee. So the Finance Committee rectified that. So it looks a tiny bit different.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
I do feel uncomfortable with the fire salaries and police salaries. I understand you've got to go to print tomorrow. You've made your decision. I do think we need a follow-up discussion, though, to see if we can get a little clarity, more clarity on what the real numbers are. But given you've made your decision, that's what we'll go to print with.
Do we want to do the annual town meeting warrant now?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. Would you like, want me to go through them kind of in groups? Christine?
Yeah, why don't you do the
More.
ones that we need to do jointly with the Finance Committee so that they can leave as quickly as possible for them.
Okay, so let's see here. So Article 4 is the budget itself. Obviously, it's recommended by Finance Committee. And I assume you already voted, Nate?
Yes.
Okay, so the selectmen should take a vote on Article 4.
All right, I'll make a motion that the selectmen, so we're voting to approve
To
or
recommend.
to recommend
Favorable recommendation.
Article 4.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Reluctant, yes.
and Mrs. Joy, yes.
Okay.
It's all about 2 lines.
Article 6 is for $37,000 for the financial audits for fiscal 23.
I'll make a motion that the selectmen recommend, would you say Article
6.
6? Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll
Sorry.
call vote. Mr. Russo,
Yes,
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
Did Finance Committee vote all of these?
We did, with the exception of the fire station study.
Do you want to do that one now and then move on to STM so you can get off the call and then the selectmen can just go back and do all their votes?
Whatever you think works best.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have had a lot of meetings. Let's try to get you out of here.
All right, so moving on to Article 28, that is for the $300,000 for the feasibility study, programmatic design, schematic design, and all of the planning services. Basically everything that would be required to look at the future construction of a new fire station.
Yeah, speaking for the committee, I don't, obviously they're all here. They can speak for themselves. I think FinCom is supportive of the article and certainly supportive of the need for a new building and all of that. And we certainly appreciate the fact that you need to we don't know what we don't know, and we need to pay somebody to find that out. So we appreciate all of that. Our sole concern is over the number that's proposed. When we did a similar study for the police station 5 years ago, the number was $150,000. So our concern is, why is a similar type study double the price this time around? And so we were hoping to maybe get a little bit better understanding as far as that goes. We didn't feel as though double the money just sounded a
So
lot.
did you vote against it?
We did not take a vote. We wanted to discuss it with you folks.
Okay, because we did have a meeting on Saturday that we invited town residents through. We spent about close to 2 hours going through this. We also have a Zoom meeting coming up on not this Wednesday, but I believe it's the following Wednesday, where we're going to do the same discussion with the same presentation. And maybe that's where we address why this is costing what it's costing. But I feel very uncomfortable because
where did the number come from? Was it from actual bids?
Yeah,
or
from
do we
what,
have proposals in hand?
I believe it was partly by checking with 1 or 2 consultants that do this as a matter of course and getting an idea of what the number would be. And that's where it came out of. John can talk to it better than I can, obviously.
I think that they also, if I can add, they got a lot of up-to-date cost information from our owner's project manager who worked on the police station project. He was able to provide a lot of real-time data, like in today's costs for everything. So there was a lot of background research that went into that $300,000 number.
And it's important that you understand how it was arrived at in the pieces, because if you turn this down, there's no need to go into town meeting for the article.
I
As you
wouldn't say
know,
that.
no, as you know, it takes a approval of the Board of Selectmen, then approval of the Finance Committee, approval of the Capital Committee, and a 2/3 vote of town meeting. If you turn it down, it doesn't go any further.
May I say something?
Sure, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, and Nate, you brought up something that it didn't resonate with me that well, my fault, at the previous meeting, your meeting, when you mentioned how it was $150,000 for the police station study. And I think that's kind of an apples and oranges argument, only because it's a much more complicated building. The police station itself is essentially an office building, really, when you think about it. Multiple offices, a fairly strong IT component, but that's pretty much it, with a bit of a garage on there, the Sally Port. The fire station is a totally different type of construction, number one, and has mandated requirements that we cannot get out of, that are regulated not only by OSHA, but certain state laws as well. So it's not just a garage and some bunking and administrative parts. There's a very strong need for decon capabilities. What do you do with the decon effluent, the water and such from that? Rooms for the gear. It's nothing, it's things that we're mandated to do. We cannot get around. So it's a much more complicated building, and that may have, I'm not saying may, I think it actually has an effect on the feasibility and the needs of the station itself. So it's not the same building at all that we did for the police station. Thank you.
What maybe I'd like to do is send you the date, Nate, for you and your committee to see if you'd be available for the Zoom meeting. And if you're not, maybe we set up a separate Zoom meeting just to discuss that issue.
Please, don't interpret this as we're trying to throw up a roadblock. We're really not. I mean, again, I think the full committee is generally speaking in favor of the article. We were just curious as to how the number was arrived at, and
Right.
I think you've addressed that.
Yeah, and we owe you a more defined answer, I think.
Nate, are you comfortable taking a vote now, or would you hold your vote till town meeting? Because the
I'm
warrant's going to print.
Yeah, I understand. I'm one person on the committee, so I'll let the others weigh in.
I'm comfortable to vote.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, let's go for it.
In Maryland, you're good?
Yeah, we can vote.
Okay. All right. Do you guys want to take your vote and then we'll take ours, or?
Sure. We have a motion in front of us for Article 28, annual town meeting, the amount of $300,000 to fund the fire station construction survey. Can I have someone make that motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Catherine.
Second,
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, Catherine Shepherd,
Aye.
Steve Lewis,
aye.
Marilyn Brown,
Reluctantly, aye.
Mike Lemieux,
Reluctantly, aye.
Nathaniel Sides, aye. Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that the selectmen recommend Article 28.
Second,
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes. Okay. Thank you, Finance Committee. Do we have any other finance ones that we need to vote on together, Liz? You're muted.
You're-
I think we can go back after they exit the call, and you can take all of your votes Nate, just for the printing of the warrants, was there anything that was not a 5-0 favorable recommendation?
No, we're all in very agreeable moods tonight, so it was.
Okay.
How about the special town meeting?
Is there anything on there, Nate, that you didn't vote 5-0?
No, that was all. Nope, everything went through based on the revised numbers that you sent around this afternoon.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank you.
So you're done with us?
Yes, we can cut you loose. Thank you so much for.
Oh, no, we have to
for
officially
joining.
leave. We have to officially leave the room. So can someone please make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I knew you would.
Hey,
Steve,
before
a
you,
second?
before
Yeah.
you, before you go,
Yes, sir.
you guys are in favor, wasn't there a Silver Lake stabilization fund? One of the articles on the annual town meeting?
It's not a money article, though. It's just creating the fund.
Oh.
But it is on there. It's Article 40.
You know what? We didn't discuss that one.
Oh.
Okay, can you vote that now, either way? Unless you don't want to vote.
Please, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on it. Could you?
I can give a brief
30
explanation.
second synopsis?
Yeah, 20, how about 15?
Even
Liz and
better.
I have been attending, or did attend a meeting, I think maybe one or two, with the other reps from around the region and members of Silver Lake. And they have got some pretty big capital nuts to crack. And rather than hitting us with large assessments to address these, they'd like to create this fund so that they can start to kind of save up and address the needs in a more proactive way rather than the way that we've been doing this historically.
So this article simply establishes the fund. We don't have to.
We're not funding
allocating
it.
any money towards it or anything like that.
No, we're just
this is
creating the fund.
Just as for capital projects?
Correct.
One of the reasons I ask is last year we voted against it. I think FinCom did, and I did Board of Selectmen too. So I'm actually interested on what's different if we're going to consider approval.
I think last time we didn't get any explanation as to what
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
was
Oh,
about.
okay.
This
is
was-
the same. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I'm
the
sorry.
same article. It was just on the warrant and
Oh, yeah.
nobody gave us any type of rationale for it. And
Yeah.
we felt like we gave them enough money and we didn't want to give them a blank check, but we did get an explanation as to the intent and that's why they brought it back.
Okay. I still don't think I'm in favor, but
I'm certainly not in favor of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not either.
And I assume this is going to require all three towns to approve this.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So are you going to take a formal vote then?
sure. Catherine makes a motion to approve Article 40 as presented. Steve will second it. Again, this is if a yes vote establishes the fund. So if you're against the fund, you would need to vote no on this. Roll call vote. Catherine Shepherd.
I think I'm okay with it. Yes.
Okay. Steve Lewis,
Yes.
Marilyn Brown,
No.
Mike Lemieux,
No.
Nathaniel Sides, no. Motion does not carry 3-2 or 2-3, however you want to word it.
So it'll be in there. This is the weird part where town council has us do it in the affirmative. So it'll
Yep.
say recommended by finance committee
2-3.
2 to 3.
Yep. Okay.
And then did you do anything with the school resource officer? I know we had talked about this before. We had hoped that they would include it in their budget, but for a variety of reasons, none having which to do with Plympton, they decided to go the warrant article route again.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about it. We approved it. We've given up that fight. You guys have worn me down.
Okay. I think that's it then for finance.
What number was that one, Liz?
That was
40.
number 39.
13.
It was Article 39, and it was for the $14,000 for the part-time school resource officer for Silver Lake Middle School.
For the record, FinCom still feels it should be part of the operating budget.
We did make that
We did
known when
approve it because we
Christine and I
do
were
see
meeting
the
with
need for the
them.
role.
And we thought that's what they were going to do, but I think something happened with possibly with one of the other communities, and they opted to go this route again.
Just so you know, because it is an article, we may have an excess in that article this year, and then the article could be reduced by the excess that we have in the article.
That's right, you
I
mentioned
did
that.
check with Christine Healy on that, and there was no definitive answer on it. They acknowledged that the tennis courts were all set. We were able to eliminate that article, but they wanted to keep the 14,000 as requested.
I was curious about theoretically, our share of the tennis courts would have gone down because our enrollment has gone down. So actually, they probably got more money out of us than they should. Because we voted it last year.
Right.
I say we demand a refund.
At the very least, we ought to have a count of who plays tennis.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
It ain't me. All right, I'm hijacking your meeting. I'm sorry. So we'll take a motion to adjourn, please. For
I make a
FinCom.
motion.
Thank you. Steve seconds.
Second.
Roll call vote. Catherine Shepherd,
Aye.
Steve Lewis,
Aye.
Marilyn Brown,
Aye.
Mike Lemieux,
Aye.
Daniel Sides. Aye. We are adjourned at 7:13. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Great
you.
work, Finance Committee. Well done.
Yes,
Liz, would
thank
you like
for
me
your
to
hard
stay
work.
on?
Have to, if you don't want to, Lisa. I mean, I don't think that there's anything that's gonna come up. We're not talking funding sources or anything tonight. We're gonna do that on May 9th.
Okay,
So yeah, I would feel free to enjoy the rest of the evening. I know you were on there
okay.
earlier.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Lisa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So articles, we can take some of these in groups, I think, to get the votes done. Article 2 is the
But just-
standard.
Yeah, just one thing. I feel very uncomfortable about the fire and police salaries. And I think we have to have more of a discussion with FinCom going forward, because we're going to have a lot of very unhappy campers over there on both sides, and I think rightly so. So we took a vote to support the police salaries.
And we did send them something in writing to that effect.
Yes, and we sent it on the fire too, and
Yep.
you did that work. So I feel very uncomfortable, and I think before we go into town meeting, we should have a discussion a little more in depth.
Well, I'd
You
like to
could
get a
also-
clarification from the police department too about what the staffing levels are and what that number represents.
Yes, I think we have to go have a detail so we can actually see how each shift is staffed. So we know where the missing, why some shifts are single. Now
Right.
they can talk about sickness and they can talk about court, etc. And maybe we have to build in some flex and just say, okay, certain shifts have to be single. But I know there's going to be a real pushback on that from the police side, especially. And I
Well,
think rightly so.
Yeah. And Steve's got your hand up. Steve, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, the 572 is better than where we were, but it's not where we need to be. Liz and I worked with John's advice as well tirelessly and broke this thing down to the penny. We have a plan to fund it. I don't think the plan was taken into consideration by the other committee, but we need to kind of strategize how we go forward. And that's really all I have to say about it tonight. It's not much we can do at the moment, but there is a plan. We could have afforded this without
Yeah.
causing any undue stress on. the town.
Without any raise inappropriate.
Right.
So we need to talk about that, but probably not tonight. We need to move on and do this.
Well, maybe our next agenda, we can
Great.
put it
great.
on there.
Okay, so Article 2 on ATM is the routine article for the treasurer to enter into the compensating balance agreements, which is part of Mass General Law. So there's no dollar amount associated with that. And then Article 3 is the wage and personnel classification plan that takes into account the 3% COLA that they voted. And then Article 5, I think we can group all of these together. Article 5 is the updated wage and personnel bylaw. And once this gets filed, once the warrants get filed with the town clerk's office, a full copy of the draft bylaw is also going to be available there for people to view as well. And we'll also get a draft posted up on the website with the warrants, just in case anybody has any questions. But to be clear, for Article 5, there's no changes whatsoever to anybody's benefits who fall under that bylaw. It was simply taking the archaic bylaw and bringing it up to date with our current structure of our town government, making it more clear, kind of roles and responsibilities, where people go for different items. But no changes whatsoever to how benefits are accrued for any of those employees coming under the bylaws. So I don't expect any issues with that. So it would be looking for a vote for recommendation on Articles 2, 3, and 5.
All right, I'll make a motion. The selectmen recommend Articles 2, 3, and 5.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
Okay, and then you already did Article 6. So now we can group some of these together. Article 7 is the general one for Chapter 90 to authorize the acceptance of that funding and to borrow in anticipation. Article 8 is for $200,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund for road construction, resurfacing. This is another one that comes up every year. Article 9 is for a highway department Ford F-550 vehicle. And Rob was on the finance committee call with our joint meeting that we had a few weeks prior, and he gave a really good explanation of that. And then Article 10 is for the lease payments that we've entered into for the fiber optic build out, the highway department truck, the fire department vehicle lease, and then the command vehicle lease. So it would be looking for a vote on Articles 7 through 10.
Not 11?
Want me to put 11 in there too?
Yeah, because that's a police vehicle, or yeah, that's
Okay.
actually for the signs.
I didn't turn the page yet.
No, no worries.
Article 11 is for $13,600 for the solar powered pole mounted speed limit signs. So we'd be looking for a vote on Articles 7 through 11.
Just one that, Liz, these have all been approved by the finance committee, right? That's what we heard a
That's
little
what
earlier.
we indicated.
Okay,
so
okay,
it's-
yep.
It's going to read that way in the warrant.
Better.
All right, I'll make a motion that the selectmen recommend Articles 7 through 11.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
Okay, Article 12 is the standard CPC article for every year. And then let's also do the financial ones for the Board of Assessors. Article 13 is for $5,000 for the real and personal property interim valuation. Article 14 is $5,000 for the GIS map subscription. And Article 15 is for $8,000 for real property data collection. So this would be a vote on 12, 13, 14, and 15.
I'll make a motion. The selectmen recommend Articles 12 through 15.
Second,
Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
Okay, Article 16 is setting it up so that the town can designate the Board of Selectmen, Board of Assessors, and Town Administrator collectively as the authorized officer to negotiate pilot agreements for solar or wind-powered energy systems pursuant to Mass General Law. And then similarly related, 17 and 18 are voting to approve solar pilot agreements for solar projects that have been underway for a number of years now. And then Article 19 is a formal vote to join Power Options, which is the collective purchasing collaboration that makes it so that you don't have to go through certain procurement procedures. It's similar to the state bid list. So it would be authorizing us to enter into that, and it basically ratifies the actions taken at our last town meeting back in May of 2021. And I think we can also do with this Article 20 is to establish a veteran property tax work-off abatement program. So right now we have a senior tax work-off program. This would establish one for veterans in town. So this would be looking at taking a vote on Articles 16 through 20.
I'll make a motion. The selectmen recommend Articles 16 through 20.
Second,
Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
21, so we can do a bunch of these. 21 is $10,000 for PPE at the fire department. 22 is $8,000 for the self-contained breathing apparatus. 23 is for $5,000 for a required 5% match on an anticipated FEMA grant. 24 is $5,000 to be added back to the Town Properties Committee consultant article. 25 is $25,000 to cover any remaining costs for the townhouse roof project. Those bids came in a little lower than what we were fearing, so we were able to reduce that requested amount down to $25,000. Article 26 is $11,500 for the library. 27 is $8,500 for the refurbishment and upgrades at the old townhouse. 29 is $9,500, and this is for fire and burglar alarms at the highway barn and the public library. And then Article 30 is $18,500, and this is for IT equipment and upgrades, specifically including replacement of our 12,012 document server. So do you want to take a vote that would be for Articles 21 through 27 and then 29 and 30?
I'll make a motion. The selectmen recommend Articles 21 through 27 and 29 and 30.
Second,
Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
Okay, and now Article 31 is a general bylaw change.
We're gonna do 28 or
You
We already did that.
we did? Okay.
That was
Yeah.
the $300,000 article for town
Were you-
properties.
Were you voting for that one, John?
Reluctantly.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do
I'm
they
voting
call
for-
that? You reconsider? You want to reconsider Article
No,
28?
I'm for it.
Okay.
So 31 is to amend the general bylaws. This is for a Board of Health provision. Town Council has gone through all of these, and the Bylaw Review Committee, Planning Board have all been a part of these processes.
These, can I just say something, Liz? these planning board articles don't need a Board of Selectmen recommendation, true?
That is correct. You don't have to vote them. For the zoning change ones, which is 32 through 37, those actually require a planning board recommendation, which we will not have in time to send to print. So if you wanted to just not vote on any of those, I think it's fine. 31 is a general bylaw change, so it does not require a planning board recommendation. And it just establishes some provisions for Board of Health violations. But if you wanted to hold off on recommending any of those and kind of leave it to the requisite boards and committees, I don't see any harm in that.
I don't have a problem with 31, but I do feel uncomfortable with the zoning bylaws that I'm not cognizant or not up to date enough to be able to vote yes with saying this is, if the planning board, I assume, is going to vote yes on these because they've been in long discussions. And since it doesn't need our vote, I just feel uncomfortable having to take a vote.
I don't think that's a problem.
I don't know enough about these, John, to make an informed decision either.
I can just remove the recommended by BOS line from these. And some of them, honestly, they're gonna have the planning board line removed as well, because they haven't had their public hearing yet, I don't think.
Okay.
So let's move.
I think that's key. Voting before the public hearing doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you don't know, something might come up at the public hearing that prompts an amendment on the floor of town meeting, for example. So I think that's wise.
Yep.
So Article 38 is $3,500 for the bylaw codification to keep that going. Article 39 is $14,000 for the school resource officer at Silver Lake Middle School. Article 40 is the establishment of the stabilization fund for Silver Lake. So it'd be looking for a vote on those three.
Well, we
What
skipped
about
over 31.
Yeah, 31 too, Liz.
Oh, did you want to do that? I didn't know if that's like a general bylaw change.
No, I don't feel uncomfortable, but it's up to you.
That's not going to have a planning board public hearing for it. It's a general bylaw change, not zoning. But if you want to go back and vote that, we can. So 31 is for Board of Health. And then it would be voting, what did we say here? 38, 39, and 40.
Mark, are you comfortable voting 31?
I am, yes.
Okay, I am as well. And John, you're comfortable with 31 voting it?
31, yes. I'm a little uncomfortable with 39 though.
Yeah, I'd like to separate that out too.
Okay,
So
so
let's do 31, 38, and 40.
40 is 39 the stabilization account?
Oh, I'm
No.
sorry. I meant 40.
Yeah, 40.
Okay, that's what I thought you guys meant.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
31, 38, and 39.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the selectmen support Articles 31, 38, and 39.
Second,
Roll call vote, Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes. Okay,
And then Article 40 is to establish the stabilization fund.
And my concern here is that there was such strong opposition last year, and I haven't necessarily heard enough to feel differently about it.
Yeah, I've kind of felt the same way in that I hate to give up town control to a tri-town control unless everybody's in agreement.
could we vote this at town meeting? Because at that point, the other two towns will have already voted on it.
That'd be helpful.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
opposed to that.
Want me to take yours off then?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. And
Not that it
then-
may change your vote, but it might.
Makes sense.
Well,
Feel
actually,
powerful.
if one of the other town votes against it, then our vote is
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah.
So then moving on to the special. Article 1 is the extra funds that we need for the highway barn roof replacement article. $78.50. Article 2 is to move back into the town building and maintenance emergency article, $40,000. Article 3 is to manage an unanticipated payment to Plymouth County Retirement in the amount of $11,500. Article 4 is for our unemployment line for $4,464. Article 5 is for the police department tasers for $10,528. And this authorizes them to enter into a 5-year lease to purchase program. Article 6 is for final payment for the copy machines located in the treasurer tax collector's office, town clerk's office, and board of health office for $15,830. Article 7 is for $15,000 for hydrogeology services or other general consulting, land use, and/or engineering services in order to study the potential impacts of the North Carver redevelopment project. Article 8 is for $10,000 to move that to the OPEB account. And Article 9 are the various somewhat standard school committee line-to-line transfers within the school budget. This year, there are 5 of them. Are you uncomfortable with anything that you want to remove, or I think you could just take one vote for all of the STM articles if you're comfortable moving forward?
Just one question on the 40,000, was it?
Yeah.
That was what, article?
It's article number 2.
And that's a raise and appropriate?
I don't know that we're going to have to raise and appropriate it. I don't think we are. It's going to be transferred from available funds. And we've done this for the last several years now.
Okay, I know all the others are just.
No, I was just looking at something different. No, that's not a raise and appropriate. It's going to be transferred from available funds.
Okay, because all the rest are just transfers and that's fine.
This is just a transfer as well.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay, Mark, are you good with voting all of these? Okay, I'll make a motion that the selectmen recommend articles 1 through 9 on the special town meeting warrant.
Second,
Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes.
Great. And then I think that brings you to your raves.
All right, I'm going first. My rave is to have Liz back. It's funny how when you're gone, oh my goodness, we really appreciate all the work you do, because I'm not gonna lie, there were quite a few evenings that when I got home from work, I was on the computer for several hours answering emails or trying to follow up on things. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. You were greatly missed.
It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back.
I second that.
Mark or
so
John, do you guys have raves?
My rave is kind of a corollary of that, is the wonderful work of Christine and Bree during the time that Liz was away. That's part of it. I think the second part of my rave is 3.5 weeks until town meeting, and all this that's going on begins to settle down again, and we can begin to prioritize. So looking forward to getting to that quieter time.
My rave, I can't remember whether I did this last week or not, or last meeting was for the daffodils on 106. It was spectacular. You know, it's still spectacular, but it's starting to go by. Just wonderful. And I agree with all the other raves.
They are beautiful. I didn't realize that they were on both sides of the street. That seems new.
I heard that just one side, the wall side, was 58,000 bulbs.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told. So, and I'm easily, led. So,
They're gorgeous. All right, so I think we have covered everything tonight. So I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second,
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy. Yes.